Jesse, we good? All right. Good evening, everybody. For the record, Thursday, August 25th, 2022, it's 5:15 p.m., time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. I call the meeting to order. We always start with the pledge to our flag. We have some friends from Troop 7. Do you guys want to come up and help us, join us in the flag salute? Oh, sorry. You guys need like a microphone? See, come on up. Which one of you is going to hold this? You guys want to vote? This is like a democracy. We could vote. All in favor of you. All right, where's the flag? Here we are. Okay.
Will the audience please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Thank you, guys. Oh, you can't leave. I got pins for you. Come on. Come on. How are you doing? What's that?
Hey, what's a photo?
What do you want us?
Mariners beat Cleveland.
Oh, me and the center?
Yeah, get his feet.
Steve, turn his mic off.
Thank you guys for being here.
Get his feet.
Hope you enjoyed the meeting. What? All right, and for roll call this evening, we have 5 council members here. Councilmember Poyer is excused, and Councilmember Huffaker, are you on the phone with us?
I am here.
Great, thank you. First item on our agenda would be citizens' comment. So we do these a little bit differently now. So we would ask that whoever wants to address the council come up. We'd give you about 3 to 4 minutes. We'd ask for your name and address for the record. I know Doug wants to address us, so Doug, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Doug Head. I live at 1211 Red Apple Road in Wenatchee, which is part of the problem. I'm here to present a petition from Red Apple Road area residents to the City Council, the mayor, and the chief of police. I'm going to read this to you, and then if you have some questions, please feel free to ask me. We, the undersigned, as residents of the city of Wenatchee, respectfully submit this petition to the mayor, city council, and chief of police, demanding a response from city officials in regard to the safety of residents and the many people who live and recreate in the area of Red Apple Road from the Skyline Drive overlook to Miller Street. We submit the following information and support our contention that action needs to be taken immediately to address the increasing hazards along this stretch of road. This is a very busy neighborhood with an unusually high volume of pedestrian traffic as well as bicyclists. Red Apple Road is used by walkers, joggers, dog walkers, students walking to and from the high school and middle school, high school track and cross-country athletes, people attending events at the high school track, and people using the track for exercise. On a daily basis, we experience cars traveling in excess of 50 miles per hour and even higher. This occurs at any time during the day, but most often in the late afternoon and all evening long. We have also noted a significant number of cars engaging in racing using both lanes. There are no sidewalks on Red Apple Road between the Overlook and Miller Street except for short sidewalks at Vista Street. In some areas, it is necessary to cross the road in order to find a safe place to walk back and forth across the road. Despite numerous calls from residents to the Wenatchee Police Department, there is virtually no speed enforcement along Red Apple Road. Repeat speeders are well aware that there is no enforcement and therefore no consequence to high speeds. The presence of the 84-unit apartment complex currently under construction will significantly increase the traffic congestion and parking issues on Red Apple Road. The dynamics of the street contribute to the problem. Downhill off of Skyline Drive and a very long, narrow straightaway. The Skyline Drive overlook is a gathering place, the starting line or the finish line for many of the most dangerous drivers. As such, it is a nuisance for those of us living below the outlook. There are solutions to the Red Apple Road problem, but they require a commitment to our residents and our safety that has not been forthcoming from the city. We acknowledge that speed enforcement is not a long-term solution, although an enforcement presence could be helpful in the short term. Ideally, after a number of high-cost tickets are issued to chronic speeders, word will spread that there are risks to excessive speeding on Red Apple Road. Is that my timer?
You're fine. Keep going, Doug.
Okay.
You just can't go 2 hours, but we'll let you go.
It's almost done, Frank. What is needed are permanent solutions involving strategies for traffic calming. Such measures could involve sidewalks with bump outs, mini traffic circles, building narrow islands in the center of the street, which is used in Portland neighborhoods, multiple low-profile speed bumps sufficient to require lower speeds but still manageable for snow removal, such as near the courthouse, or other strategies that might be known to the Public Works Department. What is most needed is a change of attitude from the City of Wenatchee, a commitment to address this most serious safety issue. We, the undersigned residents, expect a response from the city to this petition. If desired, we agree to host a meeting with city officials and a representative group of Red Apple Road residents. There's almost 50 signatures here. I understand if you get 6 calls on some issue, it's a landslide. In no time at all, I got almost 50 signatures. I want to point out 2 other things. One is that this is now a neighborhood with children. There are 4 young children living next to me on one side, 2 young children living next to me on the other side, 3 or 4 children across the street, 4 children on the corner of South Hills Drive, and 2 or 3 children a little bit south of me. So unlike when Mark and I lived there years ago in that area, we didn't have very many children, but now they're everywhere. Also, what I don't want to hear from you is that speed bumps are not possible. I just came from Boise where they have rolling speed bumps all over the residential neighbors there. So we need to toss that argument out, which I've heard a number of times before when I've talked to city officials. So that's my presentation. Do I get a little button or anything?
No.
Okay.
Actually, Tammy will give you one if you want one.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, people are upset, they're angry, and they're concerned.
Okay, so you know we've had our little black boxes out there taking the speeds over the last little bit. Chief, you want to come up and sort of talk a little bit about what we've been doing out there in terms of what evidence we have?
Mm-hmm. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, so we had 2 studies that were done over the summer. They were kind of back to back. One of the drawbacks of our speed measuring devices up there is that they run out of batteries, and that's when we have to pull them back down and reset them. So they're out of sight pretty much. We're only talking about a device that's this big that is allowed to get us the type of data that we need to make a decision off of. But the first study was on June 27th, and it ran until July 24th. And out of that time frame, it averaged somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,000 vehicles a day, but definitely your peak usage is about from 11 o'clock in the morning till about 6 o'clock at night. And the volume becomes higher on Wednesday through Friday, and kind of tapers off on the weekends. But the flow of traffic in the 85 percentile, which usually is your decision-making average on the speeds, are over the speed limit. That's a posted 25 miles per hour, and those run around 33 miles per hour to 34 miles per hour in those peak times. The other study that we did, looking at the range of speeds, that's where you start seeing a little bit more of the speed impact. So the vast majority of the speeds that are in and above 25 miles per hour is 26 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour. And that's probably your largest significant out of the 9,127 vehicles that passed through in that time. They were that over the speed limit from 26 to 30. The next category is roughly around 2,839. That's 31 to 35 miles per hour. And then you get even a lower amount, which is about 630 vehicles running about 36 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour. There were some higher speeds that were noticed in there, but one of the things that we've been trying to do as a city is look at stretches of road like this and using this type of data to create our decision making. Talked with our engineering department for the streets, and we're already starting to have the mounted big signs like you see on Lambert Street and up further onto Skyline that post the speed limit and the actual speed of the vehicle as it's coming towards the sign itself. I agree with Doug. There's probably some engineering things that can be done up there. As far as traffic enforcement up there, you can kind of see going off of the other chart, and I can provide these to everybody, and I can give you a copy as well, Doug. But this is going to change when you start getting into the school year, because now you're starting to get school-age drivers, and you're going to see those peak hours change dramatically to more like 6:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock in the morning, and we plan on taking some of that data. The one nice thing about the reader board type signs that get posted up on street signs, they're bolt right to it. You can also get the data off of those signs as well and see if you're having a marked decrease in speed. What's it doing for slowing down the traffic? So those are gonna, I don't have an actual date when they actually are gonna go up, but I'd say within the next week. My preference is before school starts.
And will those give you some of that same information that the black boxes did?
Right. These same type of reports can be drawn off of them, and they're all done in cloud-based storage, so we can access them from actually the police department and the engineering department.
Okay. And then you do know we've been applying for grants to help put in sidewalks between Miller and I think up to the, well, clear past the track and up a ways.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, we just applied for it the third time, so hopefully we get that, but that would be sidewalks on both sides of the street, and actually, the way it fits on the lot, some of it actually gets over to the, almost where the seating area is for the soccer games and football games. But we're working on that as well, and I'll have the engineering department, Jake and Rob and their team, look at if there's some other sort of less expensive options to do stuff that is still manageable for slowing folks down, because I do know it's people get going fast down that stretch.
Yeah, it's a natural inclination to go fast there because of the hill, but, and I mean, Steve's got data here, but I'm telling you, I sit in my living room every night and hear cars going by at 50, 60 miles an hour. And nothing is going to slow them down until there's some kind of traffic calming device. And I don't think putting a sign out, that's an invitation for them.
Yeah.
It's not a
contest.
deterrent. Yeah, that's like, how fast can I go?
Well, and widening the street isn't gonna help that at all either with the
No.
improvements that we typically do, instead of like what we did with Orchard Avenue years ago, where the commitment was made to keep it narrow and have the bulb outs and whatnot. And I think the residents of Red Apple are expecting to be treated the same as the residents on Orchard Avenue.
Yeah, and my daughter in Boise also lives next to a neighborhood where they have those bump outs or bulb outs.
Bulb
Bulb
outs,
outs.
yeah.
And you look up that street, and I know it's partly a trick, but it looks like that road is being squeezed.
Mhm.
And, but I know that's the most expensive option because
Right.
you've got to have,
I actually think
Major work.
I think a roundabout would be more expensive, a full roundabout at where the steep road hits Red Apple, because the elevation issues would be, so I think this would actually
you
be
could put,
probably.
you could put one in at Vista.
Yeah.
That would work. But I think that my personal opinion is the answer is some rolling speed bumps.
Mhm.
And I don't know what it takes to build them, but it can't be that much money. And that would slow down the excessive speeders and take care of the problem.
All right, thanks, Doug. We'll
Okay.
keep working with it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would. Thanks, Steve.
All right, so we're still in the citizen comment period. So if there's any members of the audience that wish to address the city council, this would be the time that you would come up to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record, and address the council. So I saw some folks just walking in. Jose, I don't know if some of them want to address
Este es
the
el momento
council.
si gustan hablar. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Dile ya, después yo les digo ahorita.
So we'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Mi nombre es Marco Antonio González.
Okay.
La dirección es 808 Ferry Street, Wenatchee.
Mi nombre es Gloria Vázquez y mi dirección es 1925 Leavenworth Place, Wenatchee.
La razón
go ahead.
que vengo aquí,
So Laura, you going to be able to help with translation? Okay, thank you.
la razón que vengo a la audiencia es porque no me siento bien. Mi esposa y yo nos sentimos atacados por un trabajador de la ciudad. Traté de evitarlo, pero no me siento bien y tengo que ponerlo. La razón es de que pues tenemos un daycare en la 808 y me sentí amenazado. Yo soy un ciudadano, estoy trabajando por los niños. El daycare es una escuela. Todos los días a las 4 de la mañana, de 4 a 4, estamos trabajando duro a darles educación a los niños. Me siento, pues sí, me siento una persona que estoy trabajando duro por la educación de los niños. Ahora en la pandemia, todo el mundo nos sentimos atacados. En mi casa, yo conozco de la construcción. Hace años tenía mi propia compañía. Y pues tengo habilidades. Y una de las cosas es que entiendo, acepto que tuve errores. Empecé a construir sin un permiso. Yo sabía que me iba a tener problemas. En caso pero no tenía opción. Llegó la pandemia, llega la sana, teníamos que tener la sana distancia. Espacios. Mi casa es chiquita. Tenía que ampliarme. Me llega la ciudad. Me dice, no puedes hacer nada aquí. Tienes que parar la obra. Paré. Hasta hoy en día llevo más de un año. Yo en ese tiempo paré, respeté las reglas, no toqué nada, no hice más nada. En mi casa quité todo, nomás cubría con una carpeta, un tarp. Pasé todo el invierno así. Llegaban vientos, me desbarataban mi lona. Y así pues me pasé todo el invierno hasta hoy en día. Estoy esperando la ciudad de la manera que me ponía presión que tenía que encontrar un ingeniero para lo de mi obra. Los ingenieros se pusieron escasos. Yo traté desde el momento que llegaron a ponerme un alto, yo paré y, y ya no seguí. Ya paró mi obra. Y hasta hoy en día, apenas hace 3 días encontré un ingeniero que me va a ayudar a tomar el caso. Pero desde hace un año, ese fue el tema, que tenía que tener un ingeniero. En plena pandemia tenía que ingeniármelas para estarle dando educación a los niños que se cuidan en mi cuidado. Y pues yo no sabía a qué personas acudir. Hasta hoy en día que me doy cuenta que, pues sí, somos, cuando me sentí acorralado, tuve que pedir ayuda. Y no me daba cuenta que estoy reforzado por una unión. Y, y también por falta de información, no sabía que tenía a otra persona que es José Cuevas, que también podía echarme la mano. Hoy en día, vengo a exponer mi problema. Yo, si causé problemas a la ciudad, pido disculpas, pero yo lo que pido es que quiero terminar mi obra. Eso es lo que vengo a exponer.
All right, Laura, can you help us?
Yes.
Okay.
So he says that he has come to the city council because he feels like he's been attacked by a city worker. He feels fear. He is a U.S. citizen, and his place of establishment is a daycare where they support kids and educating children. The pandemic has been a huge challenge for them, and so he does state that he did some work without permits and moved forward without that, but they needed extra space to abide by social distancing for the pandemic. They did receive a stop work order, again, because the work was unpermitted. So he did not move forward with anything past that. City staff asked for kind of engineered drawings or kind of to go through the process. So he's been trying to get that done. He didn't know where to kind of turn for help, so he's asked for union to support, and that's why they are here. And then he also reached out to council member Cuevas for support and just assistance. He apologizes if he's caused any issues with sort of the construction, but he really just wants to get things fixed and doesn't really know where to go. That's it.
Okay.
Y en el transcurso de los días, conforme estábamos dialogando, que se encontraba un ingeniero o no, vine a una audiencia como por diciembre. Me pagué una multa de $150. Me regresé, pues pensé que iba a parar ahí porque mi obra ya la había parado. Después de un mes, me llega una carta de la ciudad que yo tenía que después después de la corte que recibí y porque no conseguía un ingeniero, me empezaron a imponer una multa de $100 diarios. Y pues yo me he sentido mal con mi esposa, porque pues estoy trabajando para la comunidad. Mi casa no me pertenece a mí, le pertenece a los niños que estamos educando. Y como no encontraba el ingeniero, me tocó ir a otra audiencia a la otra dirección donde está el otro edificio. Ahí me encontré no sé qué cargo tenga Cliff y, y un compañero de él. Y yo llevé a otra persona que el que me ayudó a aclarar los planos, a poner, para que se entendieran bien, para no tener ningún problema. Y el comportamiento de él no lo sentí. Se comportó muy fuerte y ahí dijo él dijo que si en mi casa a un lado tenía un techo donde guardaba mis herramientas. Y me dijo, te doy 30 días para que me tires ese porche que tienes ahí donde donde guardan tus herramientas. Y en ese transcurso de esos 30 días, si no tienes el ingeniero, voy a ir o voy a mandar a alguien que vaya y te tumbe tu obra que tienes, voy a meter con la maquinaria y que te tumben tu obra que tú empezaste. Le comento a mi esposa, ella es diabética, ya ahorita ella lleva la preocupación, lleva más de 40 libras perdidas y es horrible. Yo yo no pensé que que iba a causar, que iba a ser tan fuerte como para que me trataran que me hayan metido esa presión. Y pues esa es la razón que vengo, que me he sentido, no, me siento mal de la manera que me trató esa persona de Cliff. No estoy conforme. No tengo nada contra él, simplemente no me gustó de la manera que me trató.
So we got to be done here pretty quick. So Laura, you want to
Sí,
wrap that up and then?
voy a decir esas cosas y luego ya tenemos que acabar pronto. He said he has paid fines and he's been, and then he received another notice about still needing some stuff for the construction work. He's saying an engineer, but I'm not sure what that specifically means in terms of what we're asking for. He would like to get the house ready to get it suitable for the daycare use. He at some point connected with our code enforcement staff, Cliff and his staff. He is stating that at some point in time he had certain structures that might have not been in compliance, or at least staff told him that they weren't in compliance and that they needed to be removed within 30 days, or else the city would be sending someone to tear those structures down or to remove those structures. His wife is the daycare runner and she's a diabetic, and this is a huge stress on his family. But just overall, the reason he's here is he feels that the employees treated him wrongly, and he doesn't have anything against him. He just doesn't understand why. And he's just trying to go through the process.
Okay. So thank you for being here. Do you think, Laura, some of this is communication in terms of the language difference, or is it, how do we get through the humps to get where that communication is better?
Yeah, I think we can provide some assistance and support with that. I think navigating the permitting process, depending on what it is, can be a challenge for anyone because it is, it is, every situation is unique. I think our staff tries to provide as much information as they can, but we are the permitting agency. We're not the architects or the engineers. So it's sort of this weird position where we're approving that stuff, but we can't tell you what to do because that's not our rules and our authority either. And so I think that, we can take Mr. Marco's information and continue to work with him and try to find a solution because I think that's what he really wants. He just wants to get his daycare permitted, and I think that's something that we can definitely help him with.
All right, can you communicate that to him? Glad we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can,
Yeah, would you communicate that to him?
yeah, I can take him offline.
Okay. Would you like to say anything, ma'am?
Sí, solamente les quería pedir, nosotros somos muchos proveedores de cuidado infantil en toda Chelan County y estamos cumpliendo con todos los reglamentos, con todas las reglas sobre el estado y con lo que corresponde a la ciudad. Sabemos que muchos a veces queremos hacer algunos cambios o adaptaciones y tenemos que pasar por un proceso de permisos y estamos dispuestos a hacerlos todos, pero también nos gustaría que cuando uno mete una aplicación o uno va a pedir ese proceso, hubiera personas bilingües que tuvieran la amabilidad de orientarnos, de guiarnos en lugar de bloquearnos, porque sabemos que el idioma es una barrera. Y si hay algunos cambios que llegaran a suceder en un futuro con relación a nuestros negocios, que nos los comunicaran en nuestro idioma por escrito para que nosotros estemos al tanto de todo, porque a veces si hay cambios o cambian reglas, nosotros las ignoramos, ¿verdad? Pero sería muy bonito que existiera una comunicación abierta entre todos nosotros como miembros de la comunidad y pues se evitarían muchos problemas de que si me dijo, que le dije, que si pasó, que no pasó. Sería bien importante y estamos dispuestos todos a trabajar en la comunidad, para la comunidad, porque eso es lo que hacemos.
She says that her daycare is licensed through the state, and they understand that there are permits and processes. They have those through the state for the daycare program. She offers that it would be great if in the future there would be bilingual staff to help support. Language can be a barrier and an issue, but and so that would be very helpful, especially if there are code changes or things that they may not be aware of, to be able to have that kind of communication in dual language. And just know that they want to get their business running and are here to try to get that done.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And Laura, you'll go ahead and
Yeah.
translate what we said back to them? Perfect. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council on anything that's on tonight's agenda, or just address the council on something? Seeing no other takers, we will move on to our agenda items. The first is a consent items regarding approving of this evening's agenda, vouchers, and our minutes from our previous meeting. So I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to accept consent items and approve agenda, vouchers, minutes from previous meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Cuevas to approve this evening's consent items, including this evening's agenda, vouchers, and our minutes from the previous meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have 4 action items and 1 public hearing item tonight. The first is regarding the Jacoby annexation. So Matt Parsons, welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Matt Parsons, Senior Planner. I'm here regarding the Jacoby annexation. This is a single parcel proposed for annexation. It's south of Maple Street, across, actually just across from Foothills Middle School, between Princeton and Pershing. And the 10% meeting regarding the 10% petition was back on May 12th. Since then, I've produced a petition and had it signed and deemed sufficient by the assessor's office. And now this resolution, 2022-22, would set a public hearing for September 8th. And then after that, another resolution would be put before you, which would provide for a notice of intent to the Chelan County Boundary Review Board. And then staff would prepare and send that to them, hoping that this one would be review would be waived because it's less than $2 million and 10 acres.
Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah. And at any rate, when we get an approval from that body, then I could finally bring an ordinance to you for final approval. So all this is doing is setting a public hearing, directing staff to provide adequate notice, which would be notice in the paper, in the legal ads, and physical notice in 3 places in the annexation area. And so staff recommends approval of Resolution 2022-22.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt? If not, this is pretty routine. I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion for the City Council to pass Resolution Number 2022-22, fixing time for hearing on petition for annexation of an unincorporated area containing 1 parcel located south of Maple Street between Pershing Street and Princeton Avenue, also known as the Jacoby annexation.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Rojan-Astatian to adopt Resolution 2022-22, fixing time for hearing on petition for annexation of an unincorporated area containing 1 parcel located south of Maple Street between Pershing Street and Princeton Avenue, also known as the Jacoby annexation. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I will just add for good of the order, I did attend the Boundary Review Board meeting yesterday. Our notice of intent number 2, which was the JAB Investors annexation, was rejected by the Boundary Review Board, 0 in favor, 4 against. So that one has failed. I'll meet with our city attorney to see what, if any, we should do in response to that. So it was interesting. I got there at 5 to 6, Steve, when they handed a 60-page brief out by the county and didn't give us any time to review it. Seemed like, and didn't give it to the Selland Group, didn't give it to the church, didn't give it to anybody. But all the Boundary Review Board members had it for a couple days. So it seemed like a bit of a unfair process. But it was drafted by their attorneys. Yeah, one of the prosecutors. Actually did a nice job.
Just didn't give it up.
Well, gave it to me at about 3 minutes to 6. Yeah. You know, that should be enough time, shouldn't it? All right, so next item is a real estate purchase and sale agreement between South of Pybus LLC and the City of Wenatchee. I'll tee this up just briefly. As you know, we've been talking with the property owners south of the Pybus Market where the dirt lot is about having the city acquire that for long-term parking and perhaps other needs long-term. So we did acquire some appraisals. We sent that to them. We've had some negotiations. And we've settled on a purchase price, which is the same as the appraised value. So Laura, there's really 2 of them. There's the South of Pybus agreement, and then the third parcel is with ETV LLC. So Laura, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. Laura Gloria, Executive Services Director. So the item before you, as the mayor mentioned, there's 2 separate actions. The reason for that is there's 3 parcels, 2 of which are owned by South of Pybus, 1 of which is owned by ETV. So those are 2 separate actions for the council to consider tonight. The first one is the South of Pybus. So that is 2 parcels. The appraised price was $1.17 million, and that is the purchase price. I do want to make a slight clarification on that one, though. So the LLC for that is South of Pybus. South of Pybus is actually going to distribute that property to its owners, Mike Noyd and Mike Walker. Mike Noyd is then subsequently going to transfer his share to the Pybus Charitable Foundation.
Mike Walker.
Did I get those backwards?
Yeah.
Sorry. Mike Walker is going to transfer his share to the Pybus Charitable Foundation. So the purchase sale agreement that you have in your packet does not reflect that. The motion on the screen reflects the council's authorization to allow the mayor to agree to the purchase and sale agreement in substantially similar form. And so that would allow us to go ahead and make that slight adjustment. None of the terms change otherwise. It's still the 1.17 in appraised price. We've got a closing date set for September 30th if the council approves the item tonight. The 1.17 will be paid out of local revitalization funds, so LRF funds. It's not coming out of the general fund. This agreement specifically, the South of Pybus one or the Noyd Pybus one, it does include a 10-year covenant for parking, so that will be required to be parking for at least 10 years. And then thereafter, the city might have some options as to whether it does want to do something differently. Other than that, currently the parcels are being used for overflow parking for Pybus Market. So that's what the sort of makeup of the 3 total parcels is. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have on the South of Pybus purchase and sale agreement.
So that I'm sure, I understand this, that the intent is that the Walker interest is going to be transferred to the foundation, and the foundation then is going to enter into this agreement for sale to the city along with
In
Noy?
essence, we are selling it to Pybus and,
No. So it's actually already occurred.
Okay.
When we prepared this agreement for council 10 days ago, the owner of the property was South of Pybus. Right after that, I think it was like Monday of this week, South of Pybus conveyed its interest in the property to its owners, Mike Noyd and Mike Walker. And then Mike Walker immediately conveyed his interest to Pybus Market Charitable Foundation. So that's already been done.
Okay.
So the seller now on the purchase and sale agreement would be Mike Noyd and Pybus Market Charitable Foundation.
Okay, so it'll either be one agreement or it'll be 2 separate agreements or?
That'll be one agreement.
Okay.
Just the owner.
Three
So we're just
3
telling-
parties.
The
involved.
owner has just changed
Okay,
yeah.
from what
Yeah.
you guys saw.
Which is sort of why we're asking for the
Yeah.
change, because it's sort of anticipated this might happen, that they would sort of change as they got really close, and they did in terms of the owners. So we just want to make sure we accommodate that.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the terms of.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything else for the good of the order? So the motion that you would like, Laura, is the one that's on the screen?
Yes, it has that additional in substantially similar form. And so that would allow us to make those edits to finalize the sale.
Okay.
I'll recuse myself.
Okay, for the record, notice that Councilmember Hornby has recused himself on this matter.
Your Honor, I will move for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign in substantially similar form the real estate purchase and sale agreement between South of Pybus LLC and the City of Wenatchee for the purchase of property commonly known as 101 to 125 South Wuthering Street, Wenatchee, Washington.
Second.
So you have a motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Kulas, to authorize the mayor to sign in substantially similar form the real estate purchase and sale agreement between South of Pybus LLC and the City of Wenatchee for the purchase of property commonly known as 101 and 125 South Worthing Street in Wenatchee, Washington. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries with 1 abstention. And the property right next door to this, which is owned by ETV, is our next item.
Yes, so the next item for consideration is the purchase and sale agreement with ETV LLC. That is a one single parcel adjacent to the 2 that were previously approved. That also had an appraisal for $455,000, which is the purchase price or proposed purchase price. Similar to the last transaction, this will also be paid out of LRF funding and closing, proposed close on September 30th. Other than that, we would anticipate, or we would ask the council to also do the motion on the screen, just in case there are any sort of transactional things that we need to figure out, but we don't anticipate any. And with that, I'll take any additional questions.
And this parcel is part of, I don't know how you say this, the
Green roof.
Green Roof, not homeowners association, but building association is part of that. But in reading the restrictions, there's very few restrictions in terms of what can happen there, including a parking lot and buildings and other stuff. So
Yeah.
as we reviewed that portion of it, there was nothing that really concerned us in terms of future use.
Your Honor, I'll recuse myself from this one as well.
Okay. Duly noted. With that, any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the real estate purchase and sale agreement between ETV LLC and the City of Wenatchee for the purchase of property commonly known as 131 South Worthing Street, Wenatchee, Washington. Second.
Insubstantially the same.
In
form.
substantially the same form. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rojanastati and second by Councilmember Cuevas to authorize the mayor to sign in substantially similar form the real estate purchase and sale agreement between ETV LLC and the city of Wenatchee for the purchase of property commonly known as 131 South Worthen Street, Wenatchee, Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, council members. This has been something that's been in the back of my mind for probably 7 or 8 years. And just in terms of trying to figure out the best use of that property. And I'm excited that we have LRF funds that we were able to use to purchase it. And that I think as the dirt in and around the Pybus market's owned by the city, I think it's important for the long-term future of that market and that area that property is controlled by the government that's going to be here a lot longer than you and I are. So, thank you. All right, Jake, Louie, come on up. We're just paving this year's roads, and you want to talk about next year's roads?
Just in time.
All right.
Trying to get ahead of the game as we keep moving forward. So yeah, I'm here. Good evening. Jake Lewing, Senior Project Engineer with Public Works. Here to ask council's authority to have the mayor sign a supplement with our agreement with KPG, who did the design of our 2022 paver. There was a number of segments that were pulled off of that project due to the rapid rise of the bidding climate here early this spring. And so when we pulled out those, namely Worthen Street, Riverside, 5th from Wenatchee Avenue through the roundabout, they were a little bit about a 50% design level. So this supplement would have KPG just go ahead and finish that design off there, and as well as design a few other segments. We plan on coming back to council a little later to ask for some additional money for next year's project. As we've brought up in the past in our payment management program updates, you know, we currently need about $4 million a year to maintain the streets in their current condition, and our current budget is 1.2 a year. And as the streets decline, that number to maintain them and that number continues to rise just because the treatments needed are more extensive than when the streets are in good shape. So with that in mind, we are also tasking KPG with doing design of a few extra segments that could be supplemented in. So if that comes late fall, we will already have a design done and underway, streets that now will have snow and ice, things like that over that makes it difficult to identify where we need to do pavement repair, taking survey of ramps, things like that. And so this is just a supplement, not a budget amendment, as I put in the title here. We have an existing budget for next year's project. We'll do with that. And if we don't move forward with a budget amendment later to supplement it, the streets that we'll be designing can be used in the following year's program. So won't be sunk cost, but we'll be a little bit better prepared for next year's project. And due to the size of the supplement, that's why we need to come ask your authority to have the mayor sign that contract. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, just continue to design for either next year's program or the program the year after. I'm assuming it will be next year's program, but.
Yep. Yeah, we're planning to complete our design kind of early next year, hopefully by February, get out with early bids, get ahead of the game.
Perfect. Any questions for Jake? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to authorize the mayor to execute supplement number 3 with KPG for additional design services for the 2022 pavement preservation project number 211010.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Harrell, second by Councilmember Hornby to authorize the mayor to execute supplement number 3 with KPG for additional design services for the 2022 pavement preservation project number 2110. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, we have one public hearing tonight. This is regarding adoption of the 6-year transportation plan. So what we will do is we'll first hear from staff. They'll present the plan to us. We'll ask them questions. We'll turn over to the public, for anybody who would wish to address the council regarding our 6-year transportation program update. And then we will turn it back over to the council for any action they be willing to take. I see our city engineer, Gary Owen, is here. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I'm Gary Owen, city engineer. Haven't seen you for a while. I don't know, I think maybe I'm going to have a hard time with the pronunciation. Councilmember Rojan
Just call him Tom. Just Tom.
I don't know if you've been through this before. Is this the first time, or did we do this last year?
No, this is his first.
Yeah, he's a virgin.
So this is, and yeah, I don't like making anybody stand out. So I'll do like I normally do. This is an annual event. It's a statutory requirement that we have a 6-year tip. They're supposed to be adopted about 2 months ago, so we're a little bit behind schedule. Emma's been very much helping me out this year with the tip. But it's pretty typically just an update of the one that we did last year. And the information that Emma put together for you kind of explains some of the projects that were eliminated from last year's tip, typically because, you know, we actually do construction and complete them and move on to new projects. A few things of note for this year's tip is the Springwater project that I mistakenly omitted from last year's project or tip. That's on there now. It's number 2. You see it right near the top. There's some roundabout work that we've decided to fund for aesthetics out there on the Easy Street project. That'll be pretty neat stuff. That's in the tip now this year. The Millerdale Bridge rehab, that was a new grant program where we snared about $1.2 million to basically replace that little bridge on Millerdale Street that goes over the canal that's old and got a bunch of maintenance, costly maintenance issues. Some HSIP projects that we added specifically rather than just putting them in a bucket because we had time and availability to be able to do that. And one other I wanted to talk about was Columbia Street project. We added that one. That's in relation to the probably forthcoming TIF district down there, and that's about a $4 million project, and we wanted to get that in the TIP soon this year. Everything else is pretty much the same as far as our Apple Capital Loop projects and Frank's favorite project out there on McKittrick Street with our signal that we hope to be advertising for bids before the end of next month. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you have on this year's tip.
On row 12, column 3, you have a misspelled word that I think you'll want to, you got it right. It's right in one case, not in the other. I think you want to get it changed before it goes in.
Number 12?
Yeah, number 12.
Structurally?
No.
Millerdale?
Girders.
Oh.
The first girder.
Oh. You want it to be G-I-R?
Yeah.
Girder. Isn't that the way it's spelled?
Well, you got it right below it.
It's spelled 2 different ways, so one of them is right.
Kulos will take care of that just for you.
You don't want them laughing over it washed off.
Hey, I'm glad to know that somebody's reading this stuff anyhow. I don't want to come up here and, have you guys just listening to some guy talk on and not really know what's going on. But happy to answer any questions that you have about this or anything about our transportation program tonight.
I guess I would ask, in looking at the 2023 programs that are in here, there's a lot there. Are we going to be able to manage that okay? I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, it's exciting projects, don't get me wrong, but do we have the staff capacity to make sure that we're
I think we're going to be working on that as the year wears on and as things begin to become more of a reality with our big Apple Capital Loop project and the Confluence Parkway and some of that. I think we're going to be needing to add some resource. We're going to be adding a lot of professional consulting resource. There's no question, but probably some internal staff as well.
Yeah, just don't want to wear you out.
Yeah, I think we have 2 engineering applications out or 3?
We have 2 open positions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough getting people right now. We got to compete with a lot of other people, but, you know, we just made some adjustments that we hope are going to help. And you know, I've been here doing this for about 15 years now, and we've always said we do the best we can with what we got, and we haven't lost a grant dollar yet. So
Yeah.
I expect we'll keep that up.
All right, if there's no questions for Gary, then I'll turn it over to any members of the audience who wish to address the council on our 6-year transportation plan. Yes, sir, come on up.
Yes, sir. Carl Ellard, 1500 3rd Street. This is background. I will tell you, I'm a professional engineer, land surveyor, and have been city engineer and WashDOT. I've got a little background. The first thing I just want to say is I do want to congratulate the city on a lot of the street projects, other public works projects. I have watched them going down, and a lot of good things are happening. So nothing I say is intended to take away from a lot of the great work happening in town. The only thing I want to state that I have a little concern, which has led me to start coming to these meetings, which as I retired, I had hoped to avoid having to ever do again.
It's in your blood.
Well, no.
No.
It's in.
If you're here, it's in your blood. It's in
somewhere.
all of our blood.
And I think my greatest concern on these issues is the lack of ability to get these issues in front of the public. As I have started following the city website and started really trying to follow these issues, it's very difficult to find these documents readily available to read through. And I will read through them because I've read through a lot more boring documents than these in depth. It's difficult to find them. And I do not in any way believe that the city, engineering, public works is trying to hide them. I don't believe that. I think it's just very difficult to put them out in a way that makes them readily available and obvious for the public to review. There are very few people in the public that want to review them, but we are out there. And so I would only ask that Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, that we make an effort to put these items more in the forefront and make them more readily available on the various websites to scan through and find them so we can make valid and appropriate comments. That's all.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Hey, Carl. Anytime you got a question.
All right. Anybody else wish to address the council on our public hearing item? See no other takers. I will turn it over to the council for any action they may be willing to take.
Your Honor, I make a motion for the City Council to adopt ordinance number 2022-16, adopting a revised and extended comprehensive street program for the ensuing 6 years for the City of Wenatchee as required by the laws of the State of Washington.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby, to adopt ordinance 2022-16, adopting a revised and extended comprehensive street program for the ensuing 6 years for the City of Wenatchee as required by the laws of the State of Washington. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Mayor's report. Laura, we've been so busy, we didn't have a time to even sit down and figure out what a mayor's report might look like. So it's been an extremely busy week and maybe even 2 weeks. So what can you get us caught up on?
We went to Nispelum last week. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so Laura and I went and met with the Cultural Committee of the Tribes regarding the Skookum sign. And I think the consensus of their board was that they were going to do outreach to Bluebird through their legal staff and see if they could get any movement that way. So they will keep us posted. I told them the city is willing to help in any way that they feel is reasonable. So we've sort of left it with them to approach the folks at Bluebird about that sign. So it's nice to be up in Nispelum again, and but we did go up and meet with them. Got to be more.
That's it?
No, there's
I thought
more.
it was a busy week.
This is
There's
a very busy week. we're still moving ahead with new city hall and planning for sort of certain days that we might be close to the public in order to allow
Invalid selection.
staff to move from PSC to here, from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor. So we plan to get some of that information out soon in the coming weeks, both through flyers, notices, social media, our website. But the big date to note is November 17th in terms of a ribbon cutting. So we'll make sure that that gets out on everyone's calendars. But Marble's coming back up, as you can see if you've walked around the building.
Yeah, so the marble on the west side is complete, but make sure you take a look. It's not, the caulking isn't in yet, but the marble itself is in.
Oh,
So,
good.
and it's a very slow and tedious process. It'll take them a couple of weeks to do the front and maybe 3 weeks to do the side. So each parcel or piece is hand cut, got to be fit. So that part of it is going slowly. The good news is we are on budget. Our original budget is still good. So the $1 million contingency we had placed in was fine. So it looks like we're going to come in right on the budget number. So we're excited about that.
Last thing to share is that we've gotten a lot of interest on the fire station in terms of folks that want to purchase it for a variety of uses. I know the mayor met with a restaurateur from the west side. I don't know if you wanted to share anything further on that.
Yeah, I just met with a really nice couple that are actually from Cashmere, have property in Cashmere and folks have property in Pateros, and they own a restaurant in downtown and they're in Seattle and they're looking to get back this way. So we'll see if they make an offer on the building, but it was a really nice meeting. I know a bunch of other folks have looked at it too, so it'll be interesting to see how that all sort of comes together.
Yep, and anyone who's interested has until September 14th to submit an offer, and then at that point, we'll review all the offers and probably bring some sort of recommendations to each of the committees.
And you guys all saw our sales tax for June, so June was another good month. Starting to hear a little bit of sort of issues around the construction side, nothing major, but I do have an excavator, so that's the very beginning of building a house, and he excavates for some of the bigger builders in town, and they have said we're not going to dig holes for a while. Doesn't mean the houses that they're currently building are going to continue to get built and get sold. Just are they going to start a bunch of new ones? And they're sort of saying we're going to take a step back. So we'll have to watch that a little bit and see if mortgage interest rates and all the sort of stuff that's sort of happening in that housing market, if that slows a little bit. But something that you would expect after the huge rise in prices and the pace at which our economy has grown. Yeah. We did meet with Microsoft, was it yesterday? So their lobbyist and 2 of their government affairs folks were upstairs with us. We had a nice hour-long chat with them. They're just sort of getting to understand the local area in terms of, they've got 6 data centers going in East Wenatchee and 6 proposed for Malaga. So they just sort of get to know the city. So that was a very nice meeting. And we let them know how we sort of view the world from 30,000 feet and what we think growth looks like in this region over the next 10 or 15 years. So I did talk with Mayor Crawford today, and she had a meeting with them and told them the same story that we told them. So at least we're consistent in our communication.
Yeah. Last week, Dave from Parks hosted a tour of a lot of the construction projects. So Lincoln Park, Kenzie's Landing. So a couple of council members joined that tour with the Parks and Rec Commission.
Yep.
So big thanks to Dave. I know his team's not here, but it was fun to see all this stuff getting going, and they're on time and on budget, which is always exciting. So
yeah, and I think they're actually going faster on the Saddle Rock remediation than I think they even planned. So hopefully that even gets open a little bit earlier.
Yep.
That's great.
Awesome.
Council members, anything for the good of the order?
Well, speaking of Mr. Erickson, he spoke at Wenatchee Rotary today, and it was one of our larger crowds. I blamed it on him.
Yeah. Oh.
But it was very well attended, and his presentation was very well received. And I think folks were impressed with the number of projects that the city's involved in, and generally the aggressive nature that we're taking towards parks and recreation.
Yeah.
And I think what that group particularly liked was just about all of the park projects have Rotary's name on it. Lincoln Park, Washington Park, obviously Rotary Park.
Yeah.
The Paradise train station. And I think that played really well with the group.
Good. And they do an amazing job, that Parks Department, and I don't know how they keep it all straight.
Yeah.
They do a great job. We're fortunate to have them leading our team. Linda, anything from you, Jose?
We had the state park meeting
Okay.
with Mayor McInerney from the city of Vancouver.
Oh, yeah, we did,
Talking-
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
it went very well.
So they have Vancouver has a model, what'd they call it?
State park
Safe park.
or park stay?
So
Park
there's
stay.
safe stay and safe
That's
park.
it.
Safe
Yes.
stay is the smaller units, housing units.
Yeah.
Safe park is for RVs.
Yeah, and so it was interesting that they have an area set aside where RVs can park. There's rules, there's bathrooms, you can't hoard anything, there's dumpsters, there's some employee there from 8 AM to 5 PM and security from 5 to 9 or 10. And so they seem to have some fairly decent buy-in on a place where these campers can sort of go. The other thing they've done is they take 1,000-foot, I think it's 1,000 feet, maybe it's more. There's a big swath around it where they
Perimeter? Yeah.
where they make it illegal to park, illegal to camp. And so what that does, you're either in here or you're
In Portland.
someplace else. And so we thought that was interesting. We've sort of had a couple of small conversations with Chief. Seems to be that little camper issue is pretty big right now. So we may see if we can, with some temporary fencing and some porta potties, figure out a place to put some of those maybe before it gets cold. So we'll continue to work with that. Again, we just had that meeting a couple of days ago, so it's still sort of swirling in our heads on how we might adopt something with that.
How long can they stay?
I think as long as they behave themselves.
Yeah.
I think more than half of them are actually employed. So they get up and they go to work and they come back and so I think as long as they behave themselves. Now, these are temporary locations, right? So the location might change, but they would be able to move. And sometimes they'll tow them there if it's if the motorhome isn't that bad, the city will tow them in there and leave them there and they can stay there. And there's every other parking stall, so they have a little bit of room for a bike and a chair and that sort of stuff, but it isn't,
All the
stuff everywhere that you might see around our town from time to time, so.
I actually toured the park when I was down there for the AWC conference, and it's very nice. They keep it very clean. Everyone's behaves. I mean, there's just no problems, and it's actually working very well and very
Yeah.
smoothly for the city.
Clearly, we wouldn't get all of our players there because this is sort of voluntary, and there's a number of our folks, as Chief would tell you, that don't want to obey on any of those rules, but if you got 15 or 20 of them doing that and got them off our streets, I think that would still be a benefit for us. So we're going to continue to look at that over the next month or so.
Gives us more teeth too. If we have a place for them to go.
Yes.
We have more leverage to cite them.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
That's important.
Mhm.
Yeah. Top, anything from you, Travis?
Right, Top?
I had TPA meeting, but it was just talking about the 2023 budget. I have all the numbers, but I won't bore. So if
Okay.
you have any questions, I'll be,
Okay.
yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. WDA is going through some changes. Looks like Linda Haglund is going to be stepping down and retiring, so we're started that process of looking for her replacement.
Okay. End of February, is that the rumor on the street?
Yeah, she'll help stick around depending on when we can find her replacement, if some additional training or when that happens. She's willing to help out, make sure there's a good, easy transition, even if it's after February.
Okay.
And I attended the Chelan Douglas County Homeless. There's a few things that happened. They're still working with the individuals in the application to see what are their needs. And they'll
Right.
send them to their location, if it's food, shelter, or whatever it is. Also, the task is asking, it will ask the Columbia River Task, the other homeless entity, to join together in one meeting to see what can we work together. That way we don't do double things at the same time. And the last one was, I forgot my notes. I just had it. They are working on there's a refrigeration from the the south end, what's that building?
Wenatchee Rescue Mission.
Yes, Wenatchee Rescue, thank you,
Yeah.
Linda. It went out,
Okay.
and now that the staff is paying for a new one coming up soon, and in the meantime, the school district is helping out with their refrigeration.
Okay.
So that freezer that you're talking about is also on our agenda to discuss at the Columbia River Task Force as well.
Okay.
And which is being held September 14th or no, September 9th
Okay.
is our next meeting.
Yes.
So, yeah,
That's when we're gonna be together.
Okay. Excellent.
nothing's been said about that. though.
No, we talked about it,
Oh, okay.
so we wanna get together.
Well, let's do it.
You guys can hold hands walking in, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Oh, anything else for the good of the order?
Oh,
Well, yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Yep.
This Monday coming up, we're gonna have our LEOF Disability Board meeting.
Okay.
Your lead off or,
LEOF.
oh.
Left,
Left.
law enforcement and firefighters, Plan 1.
Thank you, Mark.
Oh, okay.
Yes, disability.
And then, so next week we don't meet, and we meet again on September the 8th. And so that's the next time we'll be together. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, everybody, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.